even 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day consistently beats, having this burst of motivation and putting in like 5 hours a day, once, and then maybe for like 3 days in a row, and then just falling back and into old bad habits. So I feel like that's another thing to keep in mind, that it's the consistent work over time that really gets the win. Welcome back to the Art of E-commerce. Today we've got a very exciting episode. We're talking all about routines, structures, how to best structure your day for maximum productivity. We're not telling you how to live, right? We're just sharing what has worked for me and kind of how we view productivity and routines in general. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, honestly, coming here, one of the things I was actually most excited for was to see how you structure your days, to see, because I know you're insanely productive. It's just a case of like, how do you fit everything in, and how does everything flow into each other, right?
Yeah.
And we have quite a few different things that we're going to touch into, but like you said, I do think it's important to understand that we all have different things that work for us, and maybe what you're doing isn't optimal for me or for anyone else listening, but from having experienced it, I do think you've hit a pretty sweet spot in terms of organization.
For sure. And I do also want to preface by saying productivity does not mean doing a lot, right? Like it doesn't mean running around doing doing a billion different things throughout the day. Obviously, it does mean getting a lot done, right? But it could be that you spend time not doing so that you can reflect, or you can do strategic thinking and all that stuff, right? So sometimes a lot of people think that productivity comes down to doing a lot and doing a lot of menial tasks, right? Which they don't at the time see as menial tasks, but it's about getting crystal clear on what are the most important things that are going to move the needle forward today, right? And how to structure your day to accomplish those things.
Never envy the busy, and that's something I've really realized this year, especially as I was doing my master's, starting my agency, and working alongside you as well, in various functions. A lot of the time I was having to juggle a lot of things, and in the end of the day, you're not really going to be able to grow like incredibly in any of the fields you take if you're doing too much, right? And if you're trying to do too many things at once and all of this. And a lot of the time this year, and I knew it was temporary, and I knew it was just something I had to go through, but it was, it's a very easy way in a fast lane to get overwhelmed and just stop being good at any of it, right? So yeah, just a note before.
No, that's a really good point. And one of the things that I would like the audience to take away is the fact that being busy is not good, right? I feel like, again, in the personal development space, like being busy is so overestimated, right? But yeah, whenever I'm too busy, I'm like, I'm definitely not, something's not right. I'm definitely experiencing chaos in certain aspects of my business. Maybe, right? I'll keep that chaos going for a few weeks as I find ways to restructure my business, to build other systems and processes to deal with all the chaos and the business, right, that I've brought into my life. But being busy is not a sign of success or productivity. In fact, it's a sign of something not being quite right. Again, that does not mean you should. It doesn't mean that I'm always looking for a way to just chill, right? But often being busy is disguised as doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing. You probably should be either eliminating them, delegating them, or just completely outright automating them. So that's another thing that people need to take into account, that you should never, as you said, never envy the busy, and do not look to be busy. When business arises in your life, understand that it's not a good thing, and you wanna solve that because something has broken, right? And maybe you're not focusing on the things that you should be focusing. When you try to master a bunch of things and you try to do a bunch of things, as you said, really easy way to get overwhelmed, really easy way to get burnt out, really easy way to not go deep enough to become an expert at it and charge big prices and impact at the lives of people, and the list goes on, right? So it's always a losing equation.
Definitely. But with that being said, should we crack on to?
Yeah, let's review the winning formula, the structure of the day.
So let's go chronologically then. So starting with the morning routine, right? And again, I mean, one of the things that we're really going to touch is the importance of iteration and finding what's best for you and all of this. But what would you say are key components of your morning routine that you've kept like throughout your journey?
So another thing that I wanna touch on is the fact that, as we spoke about in one of the previous episodes, for different stages of the journey, you need different things, right? So for example, when I started out, I was really, doing a lot of affirmations, a lot of, gratitude journaling, a lot of meditation, and to this day, I still do a lot of those things. I'll in the morning, I'll still do, maybe not as many affirmations, right, as I used to, but I still do affirmations. I'll do a meditation, right? But for me nowadays is finding a way to just finding a bit of time before the team meeting, right? Which we'll talk about in just a bit. So whether that's meditation or just being present while I move my body a little bit around the house, right? For me, a big thing to really start the day is making myself a really nice tea, right? So that's kind of what I do. I'll wake up. I'll have a cold shower, right? And I'll get myself ready. I'll have a tea, maybe a bit of healthy stuff in there, like vitamin C and a bunch of other cool stuff. And then I'll take a bit of time to meditate. I'll take a bit of time to make my bed and make sure that everything is organized and I've structured. The house is looking clean. That for me is really important to start the day. I'll do a few gratitudes and then I'll get right into it.
Awesome. And missing from there, and just to address it as well, is the fact that breakfast only comes later, down in the morning, right? And I mean, a lot of people don't have breakfast altogether and choose to do intermittent fasting, but you actually have breakfast, just not first thing.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because if any of the mentees are watching, like they already know the structure and kind of what we do in the morning with the affirmations and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of not having food until later, right? Now, again, this is not for everyone. Different body composition and different body styles will need different things, right? And so it's finding what works for you. For example, I've done a lot of intermittent fasting where I would literally eat at like 2 p.m. and I wouldn't eat anything in between, but that lost, that led to a lot of body weight loss. That if that's a word. So yeah, the way I do it is we'll get straight into the team meeting, right? Which you're now a part of physically. So we'll get straight into the week into the team meeting. We'll get crystal clear on the priorities for the day, what everyone is doing, and that. What do you feel about that team meeting? Like, what are some things that you think are the benefits of just talking to the team?
Honestly, that was probably one of the biggest takeaways I've had so far since coming here. Like the fact that, not first thing, because you wake up, you have your morning routine, and that is important also to have that time before.
So we'll have like 30 minutes before, roughly, right? 40 minutes before.
And then 7 a.m. hits, and it's in the desk, and everybody just kind of reporting what they do. And in terms of what it brings, I think that it has a lot of power in actually bringing accountability, in making, you're not only accountable to other people, but also to yourself, because you've just said you're going to do these things, and you want to be congruent and get it done with. So yeah, that's something that I think is very useful. But having said that, you do have an environment here where, with Carlos living and working here as well, and Augusta doing things that, like within your businesses that she can contribute to as well, that does make it easier than people who have it like fully online, right? For those who don't have the capabilities of having like physical in-person team meeting, how would you recommend like getting around that to still be able to include that kind of element to the morning?
So at 9:30 today, I had a team meeting with my lead media buyer, right? So that's the thing, like you don't have to have in-person meetings, and that's another thing that I want people to take away. Like this is obviously because now I found a lot of value at this stage of the journey that I'm currently at, having people physically, right? And it doesn't mean that have to have them for like the whole year. Like it could be like a little trip, right? Or like just coming together, and there's something about having people in one room, in the same room, that leads to big breakthroughs usually, right? So it can be online, purely for through Zoom. I mean, for the longest time, I was just speaking to my team members through Zoom. I've never met, well, at this point I have, because we have clients now in Spain, but when I started my agency in London, like I never met my clients face to face. A lot of them were based out in the US, and that was not a problem. So no, you don't have to have a work environment and a cool office, like not at all. And that's the beauty about online business, is the fact that you can start from your childhood bedroom, like I did, and speak to people all over the world who haven't met you physically.
Awesome. And I think, that concept of at least knowing for sure what you're going to do at the start of the day, and having that written out, even if it is planned the day before, or if the first thing you do when you wake up is plan your day, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. I think, one of the, and we'll touch on it as we go through the day, but one of the things that we do is, and that is also very important, is you plan tomorrow today, right? So you get crystal clear on the things that you are going to do tomorrow, so that when we sit at that table, like we already have a really good idea of what needs to be accomplished. It's just a matter of like seeing how it integrates with the team, and also checking on the performance and the progress from yesterday.
And another thing to touch on, exercise, right? And it doesn't, like, do you have to do weightlifting? Do you have to do cardio? Do you have to do XYZ? No, you can do whatever you want, but some form of physical exercise is key to life generally, not just in the space, but to be a healthy individual. No?
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I want people to take away is you need to get your priorities right. And I feel like a lot of people make this mistake as well, is because I've definitely made it myself. Like, are you trying to be a power lifter, right? Or are you trying to be a 6-7 figure entrepreneur? I'm not saying at different stages of your life you cannot have achieved both, but you need to get your priorities straight, because mastery and excellence in one area, it requires a focus in that one area, right? And so, yes, can you go to the gym and make that a priority? Yes, right? But can you spend 4 hours at the gym, or 3 hours at the gym, and like dedicate a lot of energy into thinking, prepping meals and all this stuff, and still build a 6-7 figure business? I doubt that, right? Maybe maybe people can prove me wrong, but it's just when you try to master and be excellent in a bunch of different areas, it's not a winning situation. So starting from that point, right, and understanding that my goal, for example, is not to become a power lifter, right? Is the word power lifter, or like a bodybuilder, yeah. Understanding that, then I'm gonna structure my workouts around what I care about, which is energy, right? So the main thing for me is like feeling good and feeling healthy, but also having energy for my work, right? Because that's like not my priority, right? But like the main thing that I want to accomplish, right? So structuring everything around having developing that excellence in one single area. So I'll go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week max. That's really it. But I'll try to get my body moving every single day. So whether it's a walk, or a quick workout, or just a quick run, like whatever it is, just get your body moving, because especially before lunch and especially before afternoon, I found it gives me tremendous energy, as opposed to not doing it, which leads to me feeling a bit sluggish after lunch. And
that links well to another point, right? Because a lot of people like to do exercise straight in the morning, or even like in a fasted state in the morning, and then they'll go on to start their actual work at like 9:30, 10, right? Even though they've been up since like 6 or 7. What's your take on that? Because I know you've tried it.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that for quite a while. That's the importance of optimizing and iterating and see what works for you. For me, I made decent gains in the gym. But when I got to my desk at like 10 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. after having gone, having biked to the gym, having done gym, having done sauna, cold plunge and all this stuff, like having spent an hour and 30 minutes in the gym, or, sometimes even close to 2 hours. Number one, I already had this like sense of accomplishment and achievement. And number two, I didn't have the energy that I would have had I started my work early in the morning, right? And so I've, shifting it to now where I just get, I do the morning routine, but I get straight into work early in the morning. I just love working early in the morning. Like there's something about those early mornings and those early hours that allows you to really get in the zone for the first initial hours of the day. And for me, like for example, right now it's like 12:30 or so, right? Like 12. I've done a bunch of stuff that I want to get accomplished today, and I have like the day ahead of me, right? And so now, after the podcast, we'll go gym. We'll have a good healthy lunch, and then we'll get straight into the afternoon work block. But knowing that we've accomplished a bunch of stuff in the morning, especially because the afternoon usually carries with it a much more chaos, right? So I'll have like a bunch of calls. Today, for example, I've got the run of one-to-one calls with my mentees. I've got a live on YouTube. I've got a bunch of filming. I've got I need to do a bit of work for my ecom brand as well with my team. So that is like more talking to people. It's not as deep work.
Yeah, because I mean, in my own experience, I used to almost exclusively, coming back from school and then going to gym. And I kind of carried that through me in the last few years, like would go between like 4 and 6. And what I noticed was that by the time you're almost towards the point where you're already kind of tired from the day. And so you go there and you're already kind of sluggish. And by the time you come back and have a meal and shower and sit back down, it's almost dinner time. Yeah. So that kind of like cuts the day, which is why, and I mean, I've told you this already, I think you've really gotten the time like nailed down in the head. The fact that it's like, okay, stop work around 12, between 12:30, go gym, come back, have lunch, and then be ready to start again by 2:33. I think honestly that from my experience has been...
And from your experience, because still doing the masters and all that stuff, being a full-time student, what would you say for those people who literally finish work or finish uni at 4 p.m. and they haven't had the time to go to the gym or to do their exercise, like, and they want to go to the gym? How would you, in your opinion, and seeing what has worked for you and what you just said, would you recommend that they go straight after they get home, or like how would you structure that?
Honestly, it's as you said at the start, priorities, right? Yeah, like if you're just doing uni and then you're going back and you have not much else to do for the end of the day, like, yeah, go hit a gym session. Why not? But if you're trying to start something, if you're trying to do your business as well, then it becomes priorities. Like what do you really want to do, And that might mean sacrificing, I don't know, watching the football later at night because you have either to gym or to work then, or it might mean not being able to stay up late because you have to sleep early so you can wake up very early and go gym in the morning so you can have work in the afternoon. In my experience, especially this last year where it's been at home and not actually going physically in person, I think if you really get the exercise in around lunchtime, for me those were always the optimum days, and like my time here has really reflected that.
For sure, man. And I think another thing that, I mean, one of the things that I want people to keep in mind is we're not saying neglect your health and put it on top of, just prioritize the business. What we're saying is you just have to sacrifice a few things. So if it means that maybe you can just do like a home workout for 15 minutes and then get straight to work, like do that, but just understand that you cannot do everything when you, especially when you are in the beginning stage where you're trying to balance things. Most people probably listening to this podcast, they're not full-time like entrepreneurs, right? They're trying to get something started. And so understand that as you try to balance all these things, you just have to sacrifice a few things because there's literally physically no time for everything.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people have asked me like, oh, how long does it actually take to get started and to get things set up and to actually start your outreach and sign your first client and whatnot. And I always say, like, you have 168 hours in a week the same way that everyone else does, right? If you spend 5 of those a day watching TV and being unproductive and, you know, not really doing much with your time, then of course it's going to take a long ass time if you even manage to at all, right? But again, prioritizing and really setting your preferences and what you want to do straight.
Yeah, and also understanding that even 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day consistently beats, you know, having this burst of motivation and putting in like 5 hours a day, you know, once, and then maybe for like 3 days in a row, and then just falling back and you know, into old bad habits. So I feel like that's another thing to keep in mind, that it's the consistent work over time that really gets the win.
You know, another thing is being able to run the long run, right? Like to have this consistency, it's key to not burn out, right? Based on that, would you say, at least at the start, when you're not really used to putting in the long hours and all of this, that it's valuable to have time, maybe not completely off where you're just, you know, watching TV and taking it chill, but like time to decompress and take your mind off things, especially in the evening?
Yeah, 100%. I think, I mean, if your thing is like watching TV and you've done your work, like do it, you know, whatever allows you to get out of that work state and just let the body rest is hugely important. I don't subscribe to this idea of like hustling it out, because you're gonna end up burning out. Like there's just, you know, you're not superhuman, right? And so, I mean, when I started, obviously I put in, like I was working some unhuman hours sometimes, but you know, also understand that another thing you could look at it. Here's the thing, right? Even when I was putting those unhumane hours, like I still probably took like half a day off, or like maybe like Sunday I took it way more chill. And I think that at least having one day off for really resting and you know, being with your family or being with friends and just taking your mind off work is really going to help you, because at the end of the day is that long game, right? And so, you know, you're not going to have the stamina if you don't rest one day, right? So I'd rather have stamina over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And win that long race, instead of like, you know, sprinting towards the finish line and then obviously burning out. So the way I structure it now, at least, is I'll usually take the whole Sunday off. If not, I'll take like half of it off. So maybe I'll work in the morning, but it'll be like different work. So it'll be like light work, creative work, and then the whole of the rest of the you know, the afternoon, lunch, afternoon, evening, I'll just take completely off to recharge, do a bit of self-care and all that stuff. And then in the evening, yeah, you know, I think after, I mean, sometimes you just have to get something done. For example, yesterday, like there was a little problem with, you know, the YouTube video, right? And so I was editing like a thumbnail at like 9:30 p.m. Not ideal, right? But I still found the time to like drink my chamomile tea and have like 30-40 minutes before passing out, where I could relax, decompress, and really you know, take things slow.
For sure. And I think one of the things that I found, at least this year, that really helped me was the fact that you can decompress while taking step forwards generally, right?
I mean, because decompression is taking steps forward, but yeah, 100%.
But in more so in the sense of like, so for example, I know we spoke about books and our thoughts about that in another podcast, but for me, reading has really been, you know, besides the metrics and all the things I want to get done, it's been about decompressing and managing to, you know, take a step back and learn things, especially in like adjacent fields, right? Like I'd read a lot about philosophy, psychology, self-help, like these kinds of things that I find interesting, right? Besides the more business books. Or even watching YouTube videos, right? But then instead of watching like a funny cat video, you can watch like a video about something that's relevant to you, or something that'll help you out. So, you know, it's about being smart with your time as well, and also knowing that like, okay, if you choose to decompress by going out and getting completely smashed with your mates, sure, like there could be a time and place for that, maybe not to the extreme scale, but like also knowing that it's gonna take a toll on the next day.
Yeah.
So then you're literally gonna need a recovery from your decompression, and then after that recovery, you're not even back at 100%. You're having to go back in again, right? So it's like, really being strategic about what you do to decompress and really being able to give you that opportunity to recover.
Yeah. Another, I think that's a great point. Like other examples that people can try is like, walking.
Yeah.
Like just doing a long walk on a Sunday morning, or, if you're religious, going to church, or, meditating like maybe a longer period of time than you're used to that day. So yeah, I do agree that there's obviously, and again, as you said, like there's a time and place for things that are not, where you're not thinking like, oh, this move me forward or is this not? But I don't think there's a, like, I just personally, like, anything that has to do with like putting toxic shit into your body is going to set you back. Like, it's never going to move you forward, right? So like, at least for me, like there's not really a place for that in my life nowadays. Now, I'm not saying I don't go out with friends, every once in a while and like, drink like more than I probably should. But it's not it's something that if you're in the right headspace, like you don't see much value out of it, like you can have fun without it. And also like, yeah, it really just sets you back. And especially when you get used to this feeling of like feeling good, like just really clean energy, like you're just motivated and you have like, this like really clean energy that you're tapping into every single day. You don't really look for like external stuff to feel good, and that's like a really powerful place to be at.
Yeah. And I think, with that and with decompression, that's a good point to wrap up.
Yes, sir. That's it for today's episode of the Art of E-commerce. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash the like button and go ahead and subscribe if you want to watch the upcoming episodes. And if you're listening on iTunes or podcast, go ahead and leave a review and subscribe for more episodes. And with that being said, thank you, Tony, for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.